Hello everybody, you are all welcome to It's All About Love. My name is Anna. So today we are going to be talking about love because the program, as you know, it's all about love. And you have today here Ray. For those who've been with us, we've been watching us previously, you had Ray before. Ray is a scientist, is someone who loves really God, and God is above all for him. But today we are going to be talking about love with regards to mainly to the Queen, isn't it? Because the Queen died just on the 8th of September and everyone is talking about her, and I think we can talk a little bit about this wonderful Queen, that to honor her, because she's really was with us, guiding us for 70 years, and you know a lot about her. And do you have any practical memories of the Queen, Ray?
Yes, I have to say what I'm going to address first is a lot to do with the nature of the monarchy.
Yes.
Not specifically love, but the nature of the monarchy. But as to my first memories, when I was at primary school age, I remember my mother telling me that the king had died. That was George VI, and I went to school that day, and my teacher asked us, where was the king when he died? And I put my hand up and said, in bed, and people laughed.
Of course, it was what you had in your mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you know, before you go further, I'm just saying that we are talking about the Queen, and we are talking about love, because we are all talking here to honor her because of love, isn't it? So it's all about love. We put everything above anything, especially the things that you love. And the Queen, it was and it is someone that everyone tends to have some connection and love for her. And so that's why we are talking today about her. And then you're going to talk about as well the Bible afterwards.
Yes.
But because now you're starting with this beautiful Queen, that I think it's time to talk about her just a little bit.
Yes. Well, other things I remember.
Yes.
We were all given, when Elizabeth was crowned, we were all given a book to commemorate her coronation.
Wow.
And I remember that, and coming home from school one day, I remember discussing it with my school friends. And I had that book, in fact, until very recently, but I passed it on to one of my family.
Wow.
For safekeeping.
Wow, interesting, because having a book, giving to everyone.
With a history up to that time of
wonderful.
1952, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
you know, obviously you know that.
And,
do you have any more memories about the Queen?
Yes,
about
I do.
A family?
When after she was crowned, she rode through a main road in Portsmouth where I grew up. Her entourage came through the main road, and all our school turned out, and many schools turned out and lined the roads to greet her and wave to her.
Wow.
And I remember
Did you
that.
see her?
It was quite a deep crowd. I couldn't get very near the road, but there was a lot of people there cheering and waving.
At that time she was extremely young, isn't it?
Oh yes, yeah.
And you remember to see her?
Yes, I think I managed to get a glimpse of her. Yeah,
Yes,
my memory's a bit vague on that, but certainly I saw the limousine pass by. And another memory I had, which was stirred just a few minutes ago, which was I had a cardboard cutout of the coronation coach and horses. It was one of those things where you pressed out the pieces and you assembled it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I made a 3D model of the coronation coach and horses. I remember.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow.
But it's amazing, those memories they're there, but something happens. It brings it out. You know.
It is. It
yeah,
is.
it's just
always-
amazing that.
There are things that come up
Yeah.
without us expecting,
Yeah.
memories. But
And so that began her reign as the constitutional monarch.
so what do you mean by that, constitutional monarch? What do you mean by this? Tell our viewers what do you mean by this, because I'm sure many of our viewers don't know,
No.
and probably some of them do know, but it's interesting. I think, could you explain this to the viewers?
Yes, basically she has the role as a figurehead of the United Kingdom.
Yes.
She's a head of state,
Yes.
but it's a role whereby she has no absolute power. In fact, the power in the UK is with the government,
Yes.
with Parliament. So what happens is when the government introduce new legislation, they decide what it's going to be through their procedures in the two houses and so on.
Mm.
And then that they will bring this new legislation to the Queen or the monarch, whoever it has to be, and the monarch has to sign it,
Oh, yeah.
you see. And the monarch doesn't have a say in whether to accept or reject it.
Yes, yes.
He will sign it.
And some people think that the monarch has power because of that.
Yes.
But I think they have influence in spite of everything. The monarch has influence over many
yes.
things.
Yes, the influence she has is of a personal kind.
Yeah.
As a head of state, I mean, we see it today with all the devotion shown,
Yes.
that people appreciate.
They really appreciate
her
it. It's like a
role.
kind of love.
Yeah.
They take admiration as well. Admiration as well for
Oh,
her,
yes.
and honoring her.
Yes.
And it's so beautiful to see that. So many kids you see in the streets, and in the street, not just in London, when she was around other cities in Scotland, even in Scotland, people coming to the streets. And now in London, so many
Yes.
long queues just to see her, and that devotion, because she served as an example for many. And that's why it impacts so much people, and people, they are kind of sad knowing that she's not here anymore with us. And I myself, I'm kind of sad too.
Yeah.
And I'm sure.
I think,
as well.
yeah, for most people, of course,
Yes,
they've
yeah.
never known any monarch
No.
other than her.
Yeah,
And I wasn't all that aware of George VI,
yeah. Yes.
who died. He was her father.
Yes.
And I don't have much memory of that, except when Mum said he died.
He died because we're too
Yeah.
small, isn't
Yeah.
it? What do you think about the Queen's reign, generally? Are your thoughts about the Queen reign generally? Tell the viewers, because I think they must be interested in what you are going to say, because you are someone...
I think what I prefer to do, if I may, before I address that question,
Yes.
which we can then conclude this part of our discussion on a positive note.
Okay.
So I want to first of all introduce perhaps a negative note.
Okay, introduce a negative note,
Now,
because
this is going
I think they are
this
interested
is
too.
going to amaze. What happened recently amazed me.
Yes.
I was preparing for a different session for today, but because of the Queen passing
Because of the
on,
Queen, yeah.
it changed our plans. And I was pursuing the topic of Christian love, sanctification, holiness. So I thought I just took a book off my bookshelf,
Yeah.
which I had for, I guess, 25 years.
A long time.
It was passed to me with other books by my beloved vicar, David Darlington.
Yeah.
And I took this book off the shelf. I don't recall ever looking at it before, but I thought I'd just read it,
Yes.
because it was entitled New Testament Holiness.
Mm-hmm.
and it would speak about the topic that I thought we were going to deal with today. And to my absolute amazement, I was just over halfway through, and this book on New Testament holiness, published in 1902.
1902.
That's right. It was a time when Victoria had died and Edward VII became king.
Wow.
And I realised that just recently. But in this book, I was amazed to find, when it was dealing with New Testament holiness, it had a short section on the constitutional monarchy.
Wow, what did it say?
Well, it's really amazing that this happened at all. And the author of the book, he quoted what a Christian man said at a Christian convention, which must have been around that time, about the year 1900 or so.
A long time, yeah.
And I've got it written down here. I'll just read.
Can you read if you have the notes?
I'll just read what this.
I'm sure our viewers are interested.
What it said, yeah.
What they said.
This is what this Christian man said at a Christian convention.
Yes.
I had heard of Christ being king. Well, he had reigned in me, but it was only as a constitutional monarch. I was prime minister, and I did a good deal of the work myself. Then I found that he must be absolute monarch. And now he is. Now what that man's saying is, he was living his Christian life as if he was in charge as prime minister, so to speak. And the implication of what he's saying is that God must underwrite what I do.
Yes, I can see. We can see.
He wanted to control his own life, and he realised that was wrong.
Wow.
You see, now that's the situation with a constitutional monarch, because with our queen or king, the state has the authority. So the monarch has to submit to the state, you see. Not to God, but to the state.
To the state.
Now, if you're a Christian and you have to submit to the state, that can cause problems.
Yes, it is.
You see?
And another thing before you go further, the Queen was a Christian.
Exactly.
And she really dedicated, she used it to put herself, or give herself to God. And she used to pray every day on a daily basis. She really referenced God and Jesus.
Yes.
And for her, I think it was a challenge sometimes. But because she promised from the beginning, since she was 21, that she would be faithful to the people and so on, and the state, of course, then she was obedient to the state. But I think secretly she knew she was obedient to God above all.
Yeah, in her personal life, that's certainly so.
Yeah,
and you can see that
life,
from when she gave special broadcasts, let's say Christmas times, that did bring out her Christian faith.
Yes, but you can see
and that's how
certain
people
actions.
perhaps remember her.
Yeah.
But the problem with being a constitutional monarch, you are really relinquishing, to some extent, your freedom to speak the truth.
Yes, it's
because
true.
if the state brings to her a law to sign, and it's contrary to her Christian faith,
For her it's a
I wonder if that did trouble her sometimes.
I think it's extremely challenging for her to have to take that decision and to write thing about it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's tremendously challenging for her, but she knew that she had to go with what the state as well was.
Well, that's what she signed up for.
Yeah.
But when she became the monarch as a young woman, I guess at that time I couldn't. I was too young really to
at that time, yes.
Understand this fully. But looking back, I couldn't imagine. And I'm sure that maybe the Queen herself couldn't imagine that the state would ever dream of bringing in legislation
Yes.
that was contrary to the Bible.
Yes.
You see?
Yes.
And so she would have been, in her innocence, gone along with it, I'm supposing. But we know today that the government can't be trusted to not bring in legislation that is contrary to the Bible. So today, it's a clear situation that Charles has got to face up to.
He's going to follow now.
Yeah.
That
It's a
going
real
to be
problem,
the head
I
of
think.
the Church of
It's a
England.
real problem. I was
It is.
thinking recently that if I was offered the monarchy,
Yes.
I would have to reject it
Oh.
on the grounds of my Christian faith. Because I must be free to speak.
I can see. Yes.
I must be free to speak the truth
Yes. But
and not submit to the state,
yes.
but submit to the Lord.
Submit to the Lord. I don't know to what extent King Charles III is connected with Jesus or God like his mother was, but I believe that probably he wants to follow his mother's steps. I don't know.
She's a very hard act to follow, I think.
Yes, it
She's
is
a
very hard.
Yes.
I don't know to what extent he will do that, but he has to do in some ways.
Mm.
Because he has as well, he knows
Yeah.
that God exists as well,
Yeah.
and is giving his position to
Yeah.
him as well. So that's incredible. But what do you think about the Queen's reign in general?
I think it's outstanding,
Yeah.
without a doubt. It's certainly given us continuity and a sense of stability,
Yeah.
and it's attracted the respect of the whole world. And she has set an outstanding example to all the heads of state of the world, in my opinion.
Yes.
They do well to try and follow her, you know.
Wow, I totally agree with
Yeah.
you, because I'm so impressed in so many presidents, prime ministers, and even queens and kings talking so well about her. And from the beginning she died, everyone writing
Yeah.
and talking
Yeah.
good things about her, and so eager to come to this country
Yeah.
to be with her for the last time. And that's an honor. I'm very pleased to see those things. And this shows although we are in difficult times and you feel that people become very selfish, in a way it's true.
Yeah.
But at the same time there is that feeling of love that
Yes.
puts us together. It's like glue. And this is the thing, that life is all about love. And
Yes.
when we see those things,
Yeah.
what these people are doing in spite of the difficulties around the world, appreciating someone like her and trying to follow what she did, is incredible.
Yes,
Isn't it?
she was. She obviously had troubles in her life and her family.
Of course, and she knew that,
But
and
she
said that.
came through that with dignity.
Yes, she came.
And she is undoubtedly an outstanding figurehead.
Yes, because I tend to say this. Some people say, well, she was a queen, she had everything, she had a privileged life. Why are you talking about her? Why you don't talk about other people as well, and good people? Well, because you know better, the queen, isn't it,
Yes,
than
well,
other people. And at the
yeah.
same time, although she had a privileged life, she chose to be good. She chose to go in a right path. And committed to what she promised, and many people wouldn't do that in spite of their privilege in life.
Absolutely,
be like
yeah.
her, and so is kind of person to honor and to think about and to follow as an example, because it's difficult to find someone like her in a position like her, and that's why
Yes.
people admire her and are here in London to be with her and to say wonderful things about her, and it's so beautiful. Is all because of love, because of admiration.
Yes, I'd like to just add to that as an example to the heads of state, I think the heads of state would do well to recognise that in her personal life she was a devoted Christian.
She was.
That's what heads of state should take notice of.
That's why
That's what they should do.
I thought as well. But the problem is many don't want to follow that way.
No. Well, that's right. That's the problem we have.
The problem we have that.
We are a world with so many contrary belief systems, religions, philosophers, and therefore that is not representative of what heaven will be.
No. What people think, everyone likes the good things she did, the good principles she had.
Yeah.
But no one focused on the Christian principles, on the principles that she had were from Christ.
Yeah.
But they appreciate that, but they don't want to dedicate because probably they will think, I believe that they will think it's religious or something, and they don't want to go there. So, but it's not a kind of religion, it's a kind of God's principles. And she was right doing what she did, and I think people, some leaders of state should as well do what she did. But at least they appreciate her and follow her. At least it's something good.
Yes, I think because of the way things change today, we know that things seem to be changing faster and faster, don't they?
Yeah.
And I look forward to the future with some foreboding, with the kind of culture we have, the way the culture is going in this country as well as worldwide. One wonders what things the state will bring in as law, because unfortunately we know what the state does. This is the problem with the democracy in a way, where the government tried to win the approval of the people. So if the people go a bit adrift and they do things that are wrong, I mean, example, of course, is with drugs. With drugs, the problem is that the government has sort of adapted its law to accommodate some degree of drug usage, and so what was lawlessness is now within the law. Now that kind of thing, it troubles me for the future. So I think King Charles has got something. I think can influence that in this problem as well, the state as well. We can influence this, but well, it's something that you have to see, and you're going to see. But I think, as far as we're concerned, as the people of the Lord Jesus Christ, we must follow the Word of God. And I do believe that God has blessed this country. We've got a wonderful Christian heritage. You have, and it's because of the true Christians within it. Yes. That is my belief. So that it's up to the Christians in this land to uphold this position, and that will draw God's blessings. And so I believe. Some of the Christians are doing already this. Yeah. I think they are doing very well. They are, yeah. And so this is why you still see good things going on, and you are going to see more because of this hard work that these Christians do too. And like Queen Elizabeth was one of them too, although it was not very visible for some people and the deep thing, but they could see some things, which is good. But well, for now, we can go to next step. Yes. So now I think it's enough what you've been talking about the Queen Elizabeth, honoring her, and now we could talk about love in a way of sanctification, because many of the viewers know what is sanctification, but some of you maybe not know. And so sanctification in the first chapter of Paul's first letter to the First Corinthians talks about sanctification. But what does Paul mean by sanctification? This is for the viewers, because like I said and I repeat, many of the viewers may know what is sanctification, but many of the viewers may not know, because sanctification is, many people have this idea of being like a scent, a good thing, something from heaven. It's something that anyone can associate with and see that. But there is much more than that. Could you explain to the viewers what is this sanctification? I think most people have the sense that sanctification is something to do with holy things. Yes, you're right. And that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. To be sanctified is to be set apart. Yes. In a sort of a religious sense. Yeah. And the Greek word there, in fact, it is hagiazo, to set apart. to make holy, to declare holy.
Yes, yeah.
And that gives us the word, well, a related word, hagios, which is saint.
Saint.
And it's the word the Bible uses for true Christians. They're called saints.
Well, see, viewers, true Christians means is synonymous to saints, isn't it?
They are saints. The Bible word for the true believers, in fact, it's not Christian. In the Bible, you only find Christian 3 times. You find saint about 30 times.
Wow.
So that's the name for true Christians. They are saints.
Yeah, because sometimes you hear like that, and the Word of God states, and the Bible states that the true Christ, the sense of God, the sense of God is very well repeated through the Bible in certain parts. And so it's true because they are the true Christians. Because, you know, when apostles were here, the ones who were with Jesus, they were called true saints because they were following Jesus' steps.
Yes.
And they were doing, although they had these, issues with them sometimes, but what they were doing and the feeling that they had from the Lord Jesus Christ, it was stronger than anything. They became holy because of all of this.
Well, the word in the opening verses of 1 Corinthians, Paul says to the Corinthians, "You are saints by calling. Christ has called you out." You see,
yes.
to be holy, to be saints. It's as if God's gone to this disgusting culture of Corinth, and it was. He's taken some people and says, "Right, you are the church. You're the holy ones. You're set apart."
Yes.
So they start like that. They start as holy ones.
Wow.
But in fact, if you read through the whole letter, you think, can you call these people holy?
No, because they had their imperfections, isn't it?
There's so many things wrong with them.
They were not perfect.
Not at all.
They're not perfect. So, what you understand about imperfections in the people in that time? What you understand? What Paul? Because Paul said something about their imperfections too.
A lot.
And a lot.
A lot.
So, and you know what he was referring to, why he was referring this. I mean, could you explain to viewers what this kind of imperfection was?
First of all, these people, this young church, they had a faith in Christ.
Yeah, they had, of course.
They had a faith.
No
they
doubt.
they would have been born again.
Yes.
But they were, as Paul says in that letter, they were like children. They just come out of the pram, you might say, out of the buggy.
Yes.
But Paul begins by saying to them that they were boasting about who baptized them. One would say, "I belong to Paul's group, I belong to Apollos' group," and so on. So they had factions among them, and they were perhaps proud of who baptized them, and that's wrong. Because when we have baptisms, it doesn't matter who does it.
Yes.
What matters is the liturgy, the promises made by the parents and godparents, and the promises received from the Lord. That's it. And it's an event. Baptism is an event.
Yes.
And in the same way, or similar way, being sanctified is an event. It's not a process, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but when Paul goes on, he talks about their boasting about baptism.
Ah, yes.
And then he speaks about their jealousy. They were babes in Christ. Babies, he said.
Yes, yeah.
He said, "I can't teach you sound doctrine," he said. "You're still like children."
Yes, because they were...
They had wonderful charismatic gifts, and these were genuine gifts they had. They were really good.
Yeah.
But in spite of that, they had a lot to learn.
They were still very extremely green. They had to get better
and they would present themselves as if they were kings, Paul says.
Yes, yeah.
And they were arrogant. They had lawsuits with one another. And
Oh my God.
which-
yes,
which
we know that.
you can understand that there can be legal issues arising with it between Christians, but the way they dealt with it was not good.
Wow.
They would even resort to going back to the pagan world for legal advice. And Paul says, that's wrong, don't do that.
But it was
Settle it yourselves.
It was interesting.
Yeah,
But if the Corinthians were sanctified because they were true Christians,
yeah,
and yet had so many faults and negatives in their behaviors and thoughts, what kind of sanctification would mean that they were, let's say, perfect, for example? Let's say something. What kind of sanctification and perfection could be that? What
Yes.
kind of, sanctification were they in?
yes.
Because they had this faults.
Among their various shortcomings, there was sexual immorality among them, and so on,
Yes.
and pride and arrogance, and we know that they lacked Christian love, because when it comes to chapter 13, a very well-known chapter on
Yes.
Christian love,
About love, yeah.
Um,
You mentioned already those.
yeah, Paul writes that
Yeah.
because they didn't have it, Christian love.
They didn't know exactly what love meant at that time.
They didn't know. They didn't seem to know.
know. And so that's why Paul wrote that, inspired by the Spirit of God.
Yeah.
He wrote what was love. That's why so
Yeah.
many times you see people saying the best definition of love is in the
Yeah.
book, the 1 Corinthians 13, written by Paul. Yeah. So this is so beautiful, this definition of love. And so,
Now, okay. So to answer your question,
yes,
where do they go from there? They're sanctified. They've got gifts of the Spirit. They're a sort of a young church. Now, if they're holy, isn't that it? Well, it's not really. They have to make progress. And the Bible speaks about entire sanctification, full sanctification.
yes,
So that they just started off, as it were. They were called out. That is an act of sanctifying. But then they had to make progress. And it's clear from what Paul says in that letter that they had to deal with their outward sins, because the way they behaved, it wasn't that much different from the way the world was behaving.
yes, I believe so.
They
Yeah.
had to deal with the outward sins. And then they had to progress further and deal with the inward sins of the fallen nature. You see, and this means sins of the mind, sins that maybe don't manifest themselves outwardly, but they're still there, and they are inconsistent with being a fully sanctified Christian. They're inconsistent with that, and of course the problem is, with this fallen nature we have, we know what arises within us from time to time is negative thoughts, which are stimulated by the world around us.
Yes, yeah, of course.
And
they are.
what we need to do as Christians is to not let those thoughts take root. We have to suppress them. As Paul says in Romans 8, we are to put to death the deeds of the body, that this fallen nature, by the Spirit, put these things to death.
And not focus on that, just ignoring that.
That's right.
And ignoring
Don't
it,
pursue it.
don't pursue it,
That's
just
right.
concentrated in the things that you really want to see.
Yeah.
If you want to see happiness and joy and love, then focus on that with those around you
Yeah.
and above all with you and God. But if you don't really want to see don't want to see the bad things, then don't focus on it.
Yeah.
And just stay away from it. And don't think about it, because if you do think about it, you may act on it. But if you don't think about it, then it's kind of we forget that, and you concentrate on the
Yes.
things that you want to do.
Yeah,
to
that's
follow.
putting the deeds to death,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
Paul
yeah.
would say. Yeah, and there are those who would say, and I don't doubt this, but I can't say it's my experience, but there are those who say they've reached a stage of Christian perfection
Yeah.
whereby these thoughts don't even arise. They've reached that stage. That's full sanctification.
Yes, yes.
And what this is leading, the whole point of following this path of sanctification, it's heading for what we call perfect love.
Yes. I completely
It's perfect
agree
love.
with you. Perfect love.
And that is where we are in close fellowship with the Lord in a spiritual sense. That's perfect love. And that should be the aim of all Christians. Following the path of sanctification, they start off in the church, make progress, stop sinning, try to overcome the inward sins, and proceed to perfect love. That endures forever.
That endures forever. I agree completely. It's beautiful. So to me, perfect love is the clean love. There is no stain in there.
Yeah.
I mean, we are far away from any lie, any injustice, any bad thoughts, any jealousy. We are far away from that. People like in that position with perfect love don't have that, and that we can. There are people in the world who are in this position. They have this perfect love. And this is the perfect love that everyone would like to have and wants to have. And that's the best love that you can ever have. Because the love exists. It's all about love. But they are the kind of love that may probably and sometimes helps us to suffer a little bit, isn't it? But you don't want that one. You want the perfect love, the one who is healthy.
Well, that's right. We are always trying to achieve perfect love.
Yeah.
But that is with the assistance of the Lord.
Yes.
We can't do it ourselves.
No, we can't.
No. I could just quote you from John.
Yeah.
He says, if we love one another, God abides in us
Yes.
by His Spirit. And His love is perfected in us by the indwelling Spirit.
Yeah, because it's the Spirit of God who helps us to have this clean, pure, clean love, without any imperfection, without any stain, isn't it?
And Jesus said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. Because this is how we love God, we obey Him.
Yes.
It's not a matter of obeying a sort of a system of law exactly, but it's I was distracted then. But it's
It is.
yeah, it's a matter of yes, it's a matter of adhering to all the teaching of the Lord.
Yes.
That's the commandment. It's all the teaching, and if we obey the Lord in that way, that is perfect love.
Yes,
That's what it is.
It is.
And John also says that's in John's Gospel. Jesus said that to his disciples on the day he was crucified. In fact, and John says, what did he say? He said that this is the love of God, that we keep His commandments, and they're not burdensome.
No.
We love to do it. So it's not like being forced to stick to a set of rules. It's a way of life. The obedience to the commandment of Christ is the expression of love. I think you could perhaps picture it in perhaps with regard to a marriage. When people get married, hopefully they will start off doing what the other wants, whatever it costs them.
Yes.
And it's not burdensome.
No, because because of love, they put other above of themselves.
Yeah.
And they are, like you said, they do what the other one.
Yeah.
Because the husband may know that the wife loves loves this dress, for example,
Yeah.
and then he does everything to buy this dress to the
Yes,
to the wife.
well,
because
whatever
he
the
loves
cost,
her.
you want to try
Well,
and do
it
it for
doesn't
them.
matter. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter if
yeah.
the dress is expensive
Yeah.
or it's no expensive, but especially if it is expensive, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
He just wants to make her happy, and love and happiness comes all together. And
Yes,
yeah.
I didn't have in mind about buying dresses, but
No, but it's just an example.
but it's going out of your way to do something for someone.
It
you know.
is. You're right. It's going out of our way to do something for someone
Yes.
that we love.
Like for example, if the wife was out somewhere, she phones her husband. It's pouring with rain, and he wants to be doing things at home, but he gets the phone call. He says, "Okay, love, I'll come and pick you up."
Yeah, it's so beautiful, isn't it?
That,
Because he wants to finalize something, but
Yeah.
then the wife is in the first place.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
let's go. It's my obligation
Yeah,
as well.
that's
It's-
right. But this is the agape with. Well, this is all agape, of course,
it
and
is.
this is the agape within marriage. Yeah.
Yeah. That's wonderful. It's
But,
so
but it's the same agape, same
Yeah.
word. When we love God, it's the same word.
yeah. But like you were saying earlier, Jesus was saying, well, if you love me, follow my commandments,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So then when sometimes you say we love God, but sometimes we don't follow his commandments, and then he's wondering, he may wonder about ourselves.
Yes.
Do we really love
Yes.
God, Jesus or God, because you are not following his commandments, or maybe follow some, and maybe we don't follow some others, isn't it? So, but I think because you are not perfect like you'd like to be, so sometimes you make mistakes. But if you try to do our best all the time,
That's
and
right,
recognizing your humility, the mistakes you do, and trying always to improve in them, then it's something that God appreciates and loves it, and we as well improve and we love even more. Because we are discovering ourselves and you are discovering God as well in love, which is beautiful. But then at the end of the chapter, chapter 13, in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians, Paul speaks about love being the greatest. So
Yes.
what do you understand about this? Why does he speaks about love being the greatest of all things? Could you explain this to the viewers, to our viewers?
Yes. Yes, at the end of chapter 13 of 1 Corinthians, Paul speaks about three things that abide. He mentions faith, hope and love. And I did mention this before, and he says the greatest is love of those three.
Yes.
And faith and hope, they're really to do with, it's not the faith of salvation, it's the faith of looking forward to a promise. I believe this will happen.
Yes.
And the hope is the same. So when we get there to our destiny in heaven, we won't need that faith and hope anymore. Not that kind of faith and that hope. Because we're there. But love is still there.
He's always.
Love is the greatest of those three. Now, a question arises, does that mean that, or we can ask the question, is love the greatest absolutely?
Yes, love is, that's why I don't see another way.
Is it or is it not? Well,
no, it is. It is the greatest to me. It is the greatest to many, isn't it?
we'll see.
Now you explain. You explain, because to me love never ends. It never ends. Hope can end, and even faith. But love there is no end for love. But
Yes.
could you explain to the viewers
Yes,
a little bit more?
Certainly, love is absolutely vital
Yeah.
for existence of men and angels, people and angels. It's vital. It's what life's about.
Yes.
But if we ask the question, is love the greatest? Then if we look at what Jesus said, Jesus said, I am the truth. I am the way, the truth and the life, he said. I am the truth.
Yes.
And he also spoke on the day he was crucified, in the evening before, because the Jewish day starts at about 6 p.m, you see. So in that evening, he spoke to his disciples, and he said, I will not leave you alone, I will send you another helper, the Spirit of truth.
The Spirit of truth, yeah.
So they're going to receive the Holy Spirit, and he's the Spirit of truth.
Yeah.
And Jesus says, I'm the truth. And God is love. So in the Trinity, you've got truth and love. Now, can you say one is greater than the other? Is love greater than truth? Is truth greater than love?
Well, I mean, to me, both has to be together.
You got
Truth
it
and
right.
love.
Well done.
No, because it has. There
That's
is no
right.
other way, and
That's
no
right.
other thought.
That's right.
Because truth, love is the truth. There is no more. I mean, it's the most powerful words that you have and feeling that you ever have.
Yes.
And to me, God is love, and love is God. And so, because God created everything, God is all about love. Then God is the purest truth in the world. But there's so much to say about this.
Truth and love are attributes of God.
Yeah.
You can't have a God without those two
No, we
things. And of course, law and justice and righteousness, they all belong to, and of course being eternal, they're all God's attributes.
Because God is truth.
What was I going to
And
say?
love is truth. There is no doubt about it. It's a fact. And so they
Yes,
have to be together.
perhaps, I guess if the time is running out, I just say
Yeah, the time is running out.
what Paul writes in Ephesians, he speaks about speaking the truth in love.
Yes.
Right? Now that text itself is holding together truth and love.
It's true. You're
We
right.
speak the truth in love.
You said very well,
Um,
yes.
Can I just finish off with this one point?
Yeah.
Many years, well, probably 20 years ago, maybe a bit more than that, I used to go to a church in the city of London during the week. I used to work in the city, you see.
Yes.
And I went to this church during the week. And I remember one or two sayings of the preacher there. He's one of the best preachers we've ever had, I think, in this country, in certain recent times. And I remember a very
Do you know his name?
concise... I can give his name, shall I?
If it was very good, then why not?
He's very well known. Yeah, his name's Richard Lucas.
Okay, as well for the viewers
He's very
to know.
well. He's very
Richard
well known.
Lucas, they can Google and see if they
Yeah.
are interested.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Richard Lucas.
Richard Lucas.
And I've gained a lot from him.
Wow.
He was my second mentor, I would say.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
But he made a very pointed statement. I can't remember the context, so I'm going to have to invent the context. He says to people, when you evangelise, you must go and say to people, you're a sinner and you'll meet a judge. That's
Wow.
exactly what he said. But I can't vouch for the context. But that's the clause he said. You're a sinner and you'll meet a judge.
Wow.
Now that is absolutely true.
And it is
It
true.
applies to the whole world.
It is.
But I wouldn't recommend it as an evangelistic tool.
And they...
You wouldn't go and say that to people normally, would you?
No, it's
But
too
you do what
offensive.
Paul says, you
It's
speak
too
the truth in
offensive.
love.
Yes.
You've got
That's
to
why
read the situation.
You have to see.
Yeah.
We have to see, because I remember once, just to go to say something here. I remember once someone from Australia, because I could say the name, Katerina Ruanola, because he's an Australian evangelist, and she's very touched by God, and Jesus uses her to heal people, and she hears a lot from Jesus, and one day she was talking to Jesus, and she was saying this. Well, I think those people didn't react very well. I'm a bit upset with them. I'm going there. I'm going to tell them the truth. I'm going to tell them, you do this, you don't do that. And she was very firm and not very soft. And
Yes.
she heard from Jesus. Jesus said to her, look, don't go to them like this. You go to them in love. you talk to them in love. So she could tell them what she wanted to tell them,
Yes.
but in love, in good words,
Yes,
and in manners, and with softness, and she had to carry that to go to them, because otherwise she couldn't go.
yes, we must speak the truth, but as we have to bear in mind that the situation.
Yes.
There are people you could say to, "You are a sinner, and you're to judge." There are some you could say that to,
Yeah.
but generally you wouldn't say that. You want to draw them in and gradually teach them. Yeah.
Wow, that's why when Jesus spoke to Katerina, he told her,
Yeah.
"You go to them
Yes.
just in love. Don't go there with the attitude you have now."
Yeah.
Because the attitude she had now is going to be quite offensive to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you go with this attitude to people, with this hard attitude, instead of helping them and improving their lives and spirit, we just go down we just tricky things, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we have to know how to deal with people, because if you want to bring them to love, we have to go in love.
Mm.
If you don't want them to go in love, then it's better not to do anything, isn't it?
Yes. Well, perhaps there may be times when you don't say anything,
Yes.
but the way you behave
As well, yeah,
is
you're
a
right.
part of your message. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true, you're right, because don't say, but you behave, you don't need to say, but if you behave, for example, Mother Teresa, I tend to talk a lot about Mother Teresa because, well, I did 20 episodes of Mother Teresa, and she was a kind of example that she didn't speak much, but she, through her actions, everyone could understand something and change their behaviors too.
Yeah.
Because Mother Teresa, you'd go in the streets and you'd go and feed people that are dying in the streets, and she would go and give them the food and smile, or if not a smile, she would bring them home or do something to them. And through that attitude, people could see that she was an extraordinary woman, given a wonderful example of love, and it was an example for them to follow. And she didn't need to say anything.
Yes,
It was just a kind of example, but there are many people like that.
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
a ministry of compassion, isn't it?
Yes, a compassion spirit that she had, that God gave her, and the bravery that she had in the heart as well. It was so strong. But I think today, we said something. Well, we had enough already about this topic, isn't it?
Yes,
about Queen Elizabeth, about love, and then we went to specifics about love and about perfection, and with the sanctification, about all the affairs.
I think there's more to say on love.
Yeah, there's much more.
We could perhaps do some
in the
more
next time.
Yeah.
Next time, but for now, today, I think is enough today, because I think all of what you've been talking is enough for people at home, wherever you are, to digest, to reflect about. We've been talking about this topic, beautiful topic of love. And so, would you like to say something more, Ray, about what the Queen Elizabeth II, about sanctification? Would you like to say something more? Just to finalize,
well,
if you'd like to say something more.
I think I won't pursue what I've got written down here, but just to make a general point, we learn about love, the love we're talking about, from the only source we have, the only credible source, and that's the Bible.
Yes.
The Bible tells us what this love is, and it also tells us about truth. So the Bible is the source of truth and love. So to understand really how these work together, we have to go to the Bible. There's nothing else. Religions and philosophers won't do it.
No, I don't.
Because we regard, certainly with Paul, Paul was called by God for the specific purpose of teaching about love and truth and so on. So the Bible is the source, and it's very challenging to study it. It really is very challenging. And I find that the great thing about the Bible is you can always, I managed to find a coherent argument in trying to teach something in the Bible. You can bring texts from across the Bible and they hold together. The Bible has an amazing intellectual integrity. And there's nothing like it.
No, it is.
So the Bible is the place to go. Yeah.
Even if it is hard, is the place to go. I know that many of us, I know, for example, from my own business, I have some people around me who say that they tried to read the Bible, but they gave up because it was extremely difficult for them. And these people, they have degrees, they are doctors, and still have difficulty to understand. And then they give up. And they don't go through that. And so I think it's a pity, because in that way, when it's like that, we have to try. Slowly, gradually, you have to try to make an effort because as we try, the Spirit of God through the Bible is going to empower us, and to empower us to understand and give us strength to go to do more.
Yeah, but my approach is intellectual.
Yeah.
That's the way I am, you know.
Yeah.
But the Lord can cut through all of that.
Yes.
For people who are not very educated, and you can get some very devout saints who aren't very intellectual, but they know the Lord.
They know.
The Lord can cut through all this.
And it's
because the words, we try and use the words to convey what we're feeling.
Yes, yes.
But the feeling is, what the reality, what's in the heart, that's what matters.
It is.
And to try and find the words to explain it can be quite difficult.
Yes.
So, the Lord can cut through all this.
It is.
And you get some very wonderful saints who are ordinary people.
And because many people, they have this big ego that prevents them to freely grow. Because, yes. And so the intellectuals believe that they know a lot, and so there's no much need. That
raises another question now.
Some of the intellectuals think like this.
When Paul says, consider your calling, brethren, not many of you are wise according to the world.
Yes, yes.
But God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise.
Yes.
You see? So we Christians, because of what we believe, if we're not very bright, we're quite foolish.
Yes,
but the Lord's called us.
Yes.
That's what.
Because there's so many people in history that you see that they were foolish, like that guy from Italy. He was called by Cappuccino. Joseph Cappuccino. I don't remember exactly his name, but probably next time I'll remember.
Yeah.
I'll say the name, because I know the story, I know his name. It just at the moment doesn't come his name. Joseph Cappuccino. I think some of the viewers may know that. But this guy was for many in the world, it was so crazy. It was not well is his mind. And God helped him to pass through tests, and he didn't know anything. He just knew a verse. And he got to the point being a wonderful priest. Yeah. And many people around Italy, and I think from other countries, would go to him for advice. And he would fly in the air because of this connection that he has so strong with the Lord. And he was like kind of between like a stupid in the sense, like we shouldn't say the word, but many people call him stupid. So it was not intelligent enough, and so he succeeded so much because God used him to impress other people around the world to use him, and everyone that thought they were very intelligent,
Yeah.
would go to him.
Well, the Lord chose fishermen
Yes, fishermen.
to spread the gospel.
Wonderful, isn't it? But it's so beautiful,
Yeah.
this, isn't it?
Yeah.
Surprises us
Yeah.
so many things, what
Yeah.
God can do.
Because Paul was very
Wow.
intellectual, of course,
Yeah.
Paul was,
Paul was, yeah.
and John,
And John.
it seemed, but many of them, or
And
John's,
Luke as well.
yeah, but I mean, of course, John became a very a special disciple. You could, from the way he speaks of he's called the disciple whom Jesus loved.
Yeah, yeah.
But Paul's very intellectual, and the others were probably quite ordinary.
Yeah, but
But
Luke
they were
was a
empowered
doctor
by the
as well. We
Spirit.
have some as well.
They were powered by the Spirit.
Yeah, but it was more scientific. For example, like you know perfectly what you're talking about
Yeah.
because your job, your profession, it was you were a scientist.
Yes.
And you know perfectly what you are talking about. You know that God is above all, although you love science, isn't it?
Yes, I have no problem reconciling the Bible
Which is wonderful.
with all of science.
Because
no
of
problem at all.
Because He's helping you as well,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It may be that's what the Lord was doing in preparing me over the years,
And we saw.
so that
Yeah.
I can express a faith in the Bible as someone who knows the science as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
not that I'm expert in many things, but I've got a broad appreciation of science, and I follow it as I need to understand the creation and so on.
Wonderful.
And I hold the two things together.
Yes, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful example to everyone who's watching this program. And today you are finalizing this program. I hope you took something special from here today, especially about love, love for our Queen, love for all of us, for God above all, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's why it's
Okay.
all about love.
Okay.
So, could you say something? Thank you, or something? Yeah.
Yes, thank
To
you
the
for
people.
watching this.
Yeah.
Many of my brothers and sisters will be seeing this later,
Yeah.
and I hope they find it a blessing. But most of all, the whole purpose of witnessing and teaching is to bring people to the Word of God, to the
Yes,
Bible.
yeah.
They can see for themselves. So don't listen to the second hand. Go to the source itself.
Let's go to the source. It's a wonderful advice,
Yeah.
and I think it's very good advice for you to all to follow, if you want to.
Yeah.
So, but for now, we thank you so much for watching us. It's all about love, and for now,